Welcome back. In this last session of our neo-impressionism color mixing, I'm going to mix these four squares down here. Now for these four squares, I just want you to experiment mixing colors. If you can mix a gray here without using black and white, I want you to try that. Here mix whatever, here mix whatever, and here mix whatever. So I just want you to experiment with your color mixing. So if I get started and I want to mix a black, I can get a dark color with a violet and then maybe add some yellow in. So I'm gonna start with my warm blue here, and I'm going to make a variety of warm blue strokes. Now, as we talked about in our previous videos, you should try your best to recharge your brush every 2 to 3 strokes, whether you're using circular strokes or you're using dashes of some sort. Try to keep your brush full of paint. I'm just going to swipe my brush off there and pick up some cool red. Now if I take this cool red, I start adding it in, I will, like our demonstration up here, get kind of a cool, warm violetish looking mix. Notice I haven't introduced white into my palette yet. At some point along the way, when we're actually working, I will have you add white into your palette so that you can have tints of your different colors, and then that will kind of give you a bunch of different other options as you go through. Now I'm going to add this third color, and I'm going to take this what we called our warm yellow and try to add it into the white spots. It's going to bring it kind of a brownish color, and I'm just experimenting. I'm not going to be very I'm not going to hold you responsible for mixing something precisely on these squares. These ones are for you to practice, and I really am looking for you to experiment and try to figure out what those dots of color next to each other are going to make. All right, and I'm just going to leave that there. It's kind of a mixture of different colors. I'd say it's hard to say exactly what it is. I'm actually going to put a few more blue blobs back in here, just to change it. That one right in the middle is bugging me. So it really just this is for your experimenting. Now, since I used those colors, I'm going to start this one with the cool yellow here and see what I can do with the cool yellow, some of the warm yellow. Notice how those temperatures really play off of each other. The warm yellow almost looks orange next to that. And I just want you to experiment. Now, in the sense of experimenting, I'm actually going to take some of this yellow, my cool yellow, and my cool blue, and add them together on my palette to make green. And then I'm gonna plop some of this green in, just see what it does to the color. Now the only problem is I don't have a big pile of it, so it's hard to kind of blob it in as I was doing with those pure colors. Of course now, since I'm doing traditional mixing over here, I'm coming up with a different color than I had at the beginning. Add a little bit yellow back in there. Notice how when I'm mixing it, I'm just gently mixing it. I'm not smashing my brush into my palette at all. And now your color contamination in your palette might start happening because your brush is going to pick up some of that other wet color from the actual color swatch there. All right, there's another one. It looks a little different now. Let's try something else. How about some of this warm red? Let's take violet, a more bluish violet, and add that in. And now let's add some of this green in. A darker bluish green. Get a very dark, cool colors mixing off that bright, hot, warm red. Yeah, that's a different, interesting combination. And let's see, one more thing. How about we haven't started with this warm yellow yet. So we'll put that in. And again, I'm emphasizing here that you want to be experimenting. You're trying things out, so when you get to your final painting, you've got some ideas to go on. You've got something prepared that says to you, this is a color I like. Oh, that's how I can mix this kind of color. Here's an idea I can run with in my painting. I want you to experiment with your colors. There you go, now there's another one. Okay, it looks pretty similar to this one. So let's change it just a bit so we can have something looking just a bit different. Let's put in this couple dabs of blue here. Now, depending on how many different dabs of color X you put in, it's going to change the overall feel. If I just do a couple there, it'll change just a little bit. Okay, so that is how you finish those last three. You can mix whatever you want and just experiment with your color. The whole idea is to experiment, so you have something to go on when you start your final painting.